But unions are in the news. We
But my
want to talk.
my dad texted me.
Yeah.
It's like it was like this big ass. You need to stock up, son. Because yeah, I told you my dad be on the other side of TikTok sometimes, and he told me all these essentials that I need to buy because the ports are some of the ports there's some they got some striking workers. Go ahead,
hmm
take it away.
Yeah, the longshoremen are on strike. They walked off the job on Tuesday. And so it's basically all the main ports on the East Coast, going from Boston, I believe New York or New Jersey, Wilmington, Baltimore. Uh, what else is there? South Carolina, Savannah, Jacksonville, I think. All those ports and along the Gulf. So, like, Houston is shut down. I think New Orleans might be shut down. All the workers walked off. They're asking for a new contract, or I guess their contract it expired, so that's the reason why they walked off the job. They don't have one in place, and America has gotten introduced to the president of the Longshoremen's Union, who is like a cartoon character. He
He's funny though.
he's a wild guy, and he's not afraid to like say what's on his mind. So he was given an interview the other day, and he was like, "I'm going to explain to you what's going to happen." He's got this crazy like Boston accent. He's like, day one, it's going to be all over the news for the first week. Boom, boom, boom. You're going to hear about it every day. Week two, you're not going to be able to sell cars because no cars are getting off. You're not going to be able to go shopping for clothes because all the stuff we've imported. Week three, people are going to start getting laid off from their jobs because they don't have anything to sell. Basically saying like, we run this shit. Everything that comes into the country comes through our ports. We control them. We're the ones that work. So we're going to shut this thing down, and
Love
then you'll
that.
see how much you actually depend on us and how much
Love that.
power we have in this union.
Love that.
And people are freaking out about it because it could be a big deal. The longshoremen do have it's a very important part of the American economy to import shit, take it off a boat, load it onto a truck, and get it sent out. So they do have a lot of power, like them or not. If whether or not you like them flexing their power in this way, these guys actually have a lot of shit that they're responsible for. Where if they stop working, everyone in the country is going to feel it eventually. So I do think that this is going to be a big deal if they don't meet the demands. And
Mhm.
uh, yeah, it's interesting to watch people react to it because it's got. I think some people are saying like, "Oh, this is a liberal thing, like pro union, pro worker thing." But I think the president of the ILA, I think he's a big Trump guy. He at least has met with Trump a few times, and I think if anything, this is going to fuck over Biden and the Dems because it's going to be a big issue that happens to their economy right before the election. So I don't.
Mhm.
It's not as simple and black and white as being like Dems Republicans, Dems Republicans. It kind of like crosses into both sides of that aisle, who it's helping out, who it's affecting. But it's interesting though because these guys, there are a lot of people that have jobs that are important for the entire economy that don't really get thought of as being powerful. You think of powerful people like senators, politicians, um, but you CEOs, but you don't really think about the power that those workers have until they actually start to use it.
Yep. Classic class wars, class struggles. Karl Marx is smiling somewhere in his grave.
Yeah.
That's what
So
he talked about.
they're asking for a pretty significant pay increase. And I read, of all places, I read an article on Breitbart that was actually, it seemed like it was very pro union and talking about why they're asking for so much money. It's for a couple reasons. So when you see, like, oh, they're asking for a 70% pay increase, I think that's over the next like 6 years or so to gradually get to 70%. 70% seems like a pretty big pay increase, right? Um, but they're also going back because their last contract, they asked for like a cost of living increase that didn't actually keep up with cost of living because of inflation. So they're asking for more money this time to recoup some of the money that they negotiated into their last contract that didn't end up benefiting them. And they're also building in the added cost of future automation that's coming. So automation is a big sticking point. Whether or not anything in these ports can be automated and done with computers, done with robots, done with AI, they are 100% against that. Which I'll say I agree with them. I agree with him. I don't think that, like we talked about it with that Luddite author that we had on about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in favor of. I'm a humanist. I like humans. I'm pro-human, and so I like humans making money. I like them being able to have good jobs, and the future of automation in the ports. They can try to slow it down, but they know that it's never going to be like a non-factor. They know at some point parts of their jobs will get automated, and so they're asking for a big pay increase, knowing that down the line, some of them are going to get laid off because of that very threat, no matter how hard they try to fight it. So that's their angle on it. And then the other side to it is these guys, if they shut down the ports, they're going to end up costing people jobs all across America that have nothing to do with their struggle, where they're fighting for a pay increase.
I hate
But
that argument, though.
it might end up costing people a job if you work like in retail in Missouri.
Yeah, but I hate that argument though, because you're that's the leverage that corporations hold over workers is you're gonna fuck other people. Well, just stop fucking your people, and we all live happy. This is very simple, and but argument bothers the shit out of me because it's like they hold people's livelihoods over other people's heads when you can easily make the decision.
I think that
It's bothersome.
the part that pisses me off the most, I think, is seeing like software developers be like, "Fuck you, we're gonna automate your jobs," and like specifically saying that like learn to code to the longshoremen, that sort of thing, because what they're saying is we have power in our jobs to make your job eliminated, but we're pissed off at you for using the power that you have in your job to make our job harder.
Yeah, technology gonna come for everybody. So you need to have some worker solidarity. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, instead they're like, fuck you. I can make your job. I can eliminate your job if I code hard enough, if I develop software. But you're also not allowed to use your power to prevent me from doing that.
Yep.
Like it's a very interesting look into what power is.
Oh, expound.
Because you don't think that people that make, $20 to $30 an hour working a blue collar job have power.
Oh,
because
I do.
Because people have tried to prevent them from having power.
But
the reality is, when the rubber meets the road, the people that work on these docks actually do have an enormous amount of power. They just don't flex it that often. And when they do, people get pissed. But the reality is, if they all stopped working, if they stopped working and didn't go back to work for the next like year, we'd be fucked.
Yep. And
that is power.
100%. That's all workers do in every industry, from football, from college athletes to pro athletes to truck drivers to everything. They have the most power, but they collectively don't see that. And some do, but for the most part, and a lot of it is like branding from these corporations. We'll find somebody else. Well, you know what I'm saying? Just that we'll find somebody new shit. But if you have worker solidarity, you can get the conditions that you want. You can get anything that you want, fair pay, all of that. If you have solidarity, this is what Marx always talked about.
Also, that dude that runs the ILA, he's got a very sketchy past. We'll say it that way. He's been investigated for racketeering. The charges were dropped. Big T, why were they dropped again?
The main witness against him was found rotting in the trunk of a car.
Yeah. Also, that main witness, he was also mobbed up. We don't know if it was related to like this thing that he had going on, or if it was related to any number of other business dealings he had with the mob.
Sure.
But the reality is, he was the main witness. He was found dead in the trunk of a car. And this dude has allegedly close ties to certain families.
I don't know about that.
Certain prominent families.
That doesn't surprise me.
In the New York City area. Yeah, I'll just put it that way. So regardless of what you think of that guy, though, the reality is that his workers do have power if they choose to exercise it together. And it's probably going to end up fucking Biden. That's what I would imagine, is that if they go on strike, the economy takes a noticeable hit, everybody's like Biden, what's up with your economy? I think that hurts the Dems.
Which is why I don't understand him not exercising the Taft-Hartley, I believe is what it's called.
He doesn't believe in it.
Right. So he has the ability to basically filibuster the strike and make them keep working for, I think, 90 days.
But then the president of the union said, that's fine, put a Taft-Hartley on me, make me go back to work for 90 days. You know what's going to happen? You think these workers are going to keep doing their 30 pulls an hour? No, they're going to get down to like 8 an hour. We'll just pretend to work. It's basically
right.
What
So
he said.
I guess what I need to know is, do y'all like this guy who like bragged about crippling the economy and
No,
like?
no. We don't. No. Don't think about it like I like an individual, right? Think about it like I like what the gesture stands for, and what PFT was alluding to is that workers hold all the power. That is the leverage. If every Amazon warehouse worker, every Amazon truck driver decided to tell Jeff Bezos, we're not going anywhere till you give everybody health care, till you give everybody a pay increase, Amazon will shut the fuck down. There will be no Amazon. And then you have to acquiesce to those demands. And so the reason why CEO pay and labor pay there's been like a 3,000% increase is because there's no checks and balances. And the checks and balances you have is the leverage is saying, well, I'm not driving a car, but they hold people's paychecks over their head. Or you either do it or somebody else does it. That's what to me this represents. It's class war, it's class struggle. And I like what that represents. It's people understanding that your leverage is your labor, because these CEOs, these corporate owners aren't going to do. They had a great idea. We all believe that they should be compensated for that idea, but the company don't run without the workers. The workers are the company. This is basic stuff that we believe in. I believe when I say I'm pro worker, that's what I say. I believe in fair wages. I believe in healthcare. I believe all of this stuff. And so I don't give a fuck what he's done in his past. I don't give a fuck what he's representing. To me, is the very idea of America. People should be able to have one job and support their family, and not worry about I think it's like 70% of America or something like that can't afford $1,000 emergency or something like that. That's crazy in the richest country in the world. That's insane.
Okay, so that's a good point. Does it change your mind at all that these guys actually make a ton of money, and they were offered a 50% pay increase and denied it, and they want, I believe, 77%? Most of these guys are making the plurality of longshoremen in New York in 2018. This was before the increase from the previous agreement. Most of them were making, not most, the plurality. Were making between $150,000 and $200,000 a year. And they declined a 50% pay increase.
If you're a capitalist, though, wouldn't you say, like, if it comes to sports, are you in favor of players getting as much money as they can?
Sure. But the capitalist argument for this is if you can cripple the economy by these people not working, and then that's a matter of national security, and those jobs need to be automated.
I don't know if that's necessarily
crazy
good. That's not good though. Like if you just put a bunch of people out of work. They're
in the top 5 to 10% of income earners in the United States. They were offered a 50% pay increase and instead chose to shut down the economy.
This is what I'm saying. So instead of looking at it like,
that's different than Amazon workers making $7 an hour.
But this is what I'm saying, bro. The value that they provide to the economy can cripple the economy. Therefore, their value should be more. This is simple economics.
I agree. It's a valuable job. They're compensated in the top 10% of Americans.
You pay them what they want. This is not hard. You pay them what they want. Because if not, what's the alternative? We don't get clothes. We don't get food. We don't get cars imported in here. They're telling you our value is higher. I'll show you how. This is what I don't understand is we will bang, right? If I'm on the right side of the aisle, we will bang for large corporate interests, billionaires having free reign to do whatever they want to do. But when it comes to the workers that are doing the work, asking for a little bit more, we're like, you guys are fucking greedy, dog. This is ridiculous. I don't understand this sentiment.
But they're not asking for a little bit more. They're asking for a 77% increase. And they were offered 50.
Give it to dog. They literally will in everything that you like from food to clothes to cars to TVs. They are responsible for taking it from overseas and putting it here. That is the economy. That is the economy.
I guess what I don't
understand.
I guess what I don't understand from your perspective is you're generally you say you're anti. No. I'm being 100% serious.
Okay.
I don't understand this. You're generally anti like greed, you say, right? Like the corporate owners and stuff being greedy.
Yes.
Well, these guys are set to make over $250,000.
All right. So here's
they're stalling the economy to get even more than that. I would say that's being a little ridiculous and greedy.
I believe you've fallen for corporate propaganda. Okay. So what I say is this. It's very similar to what we did on this podcast, right? I believe that because you put in so much work into this, you should own the means of production. You should be a part of what this podcast makes, right? You agree with that. You put a lot of the work in. We fought for that. We got that, right? Same veil. Because corporate CEO, they make so much money, they take away a bigger piece of the pie for doing less labor, right? And so I believe the workers that make companies go, the Amazon truck drivers, the workhouses, the sanitation people, all these people that really make the economy go, that if you really pull them from their job and their workforce, you take away their labor, we fold as a country, we fold as a society. Those people should own the means of production, the labor that they put in, they should own a part of that. So when you're saying they're greedy because they have enough, I'm saying whatever their demands are, it's not the slice of the pie that they're valued, correlated with their value. That's what I'm saying. And I think if you look at it from your perspective, right, from how we have done this podcast, you can kind of see how it's changed the quality of your life, and it will change the quality of their life because their value.
So then, so then, what is the number?
I would have to really look at their P&Ls in order to do all that. I don't know. Even you telling me that they're all this 50%, I don't know. I would have to look at their numbers, but it boils down to the exact same argument that people have been having for decades. This is a labor issue. Means and production. What is the real value of a worker? And to me, this is why, like, so it's like ownership in sports leagues, right? Like, I believe that owners should absolutely have enough revenue to keep the company going and to live your life comfortably because you come up with a great idea or whatever the case may be, or you bought a team, whatever. But the people that make the brand, that keep it going, they should absolutely be compensated unbelievably because they make it.
I also think it's a very good thing if you can have blue collar jobs that don't require a college degree that end up being very good jobs.
Yeah,
I think there are a lot of those.
I think that's a great thing.
Plumbers make a ton of money.
Yeah, you shouldn't tell people like, oh, you're going to end up working on the docks your whole life. Like, wouldn't you rather go to school and get a degree and like work in corporate America? No, having like good jobs for people that don't have a college degree, that maybe for whatever reason maybe couldn't get into college, maybe something happened to them in high school. I think that's a very good thing.
I'm not saying I don't want these people to make money. They're very welcome. Is there a number, Arian? Because I guess this is what it gets down to.
Right.
If they said we want a 400% pay increase, would you then be like, I don't know about that?
I don't. If you cannot sustain, that's where I would draw the line. If you cannot sustain the business with the wages that you pay your workers, that doesn't make sense. And like I said, I don't know what they're asking for. I don't know what they're making. I would have to really dig into the P&Ls and all of that stuff. But like I said, like when you said, do you like this guy? I don't know this guy. He could be a piece of shit. I don't know.
He seems like a piece of shit.
But what he's representing is the same plight that workers in this system have been. It's the reason why we have unions, because there has to be some kind of regulatory system that keeps CEO paying check. If you look at it from like I think it's the 60s, like I said, the pay increase from the ownership versus workers has increased by 3,000%. Now, either there's only one or two things going on. Either we're crazy or CEOs are just taking more of the pie. It's what Bernie ran on. And to me, it's wild because you'll see Democrats and Republicans alike. They're both independents. Everybody runs out. We're for the workers, but there's not much policy that really indicates that they are, and it's bothersome. That's why I'll critique Democrats just like I'll critique Republicans. Like we live in low-key an oligarchy where we massage the backs of major corporations and we give them tax breaks and that's all we care about. And so I'm for people. I'm for like if you work at the grocery store, you should be able to have a good life working at the grocery store. Like you should. Like this, I believe in that. But I mean, I don't understand it, but I hear the other side of the aisle saying it's not hard to do that. But like, I don't know. What do you want people to do, man? Just die? I don't get it. Like at the end of the day, I feel like that's what Jesus would do.
I guess the fear is that that they're asking for so much money that they'll end up putting those companies that employ them out of business. But I would have to assume that they would have a pretty good idea of what they could be paid without costing them their own jobs.
That like I said, that would be the line that I would draw, because like, how can we pay you more than we're intaking? But I don't, like I said, I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, until you see the numbers and see how much money they're making, it's kind of like one of those things you have to be like, okay, I assume they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, but like I said,
it would not be self-serving for them if they were to say we're going to go on strike unless you pay us each $1 million a year. Yeah, then the companies would be like, well,
we ain't got it.
I guess we just can't do business anymore.
Mm-hmm. We don't got it.
Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be Biden coming out as saying I don't believe in Taft-Hartley. It's kind of wild.
I had never heard of Taft-Hartley.
Because that's a law. And for the president to be like, yeah, I don't believe in that. That's the most like pro-worker thing that Joe Biden's ever done, I think. That's wild. He's basically saying, I don't believe that the federal government has a duty to tell people that go on strike that they have to go back to work, which is something that was written to the law.
Mm.
If it's in the interest of national security, then the president can tell them to do that. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm just not going to do that.
It's pretty lit, actually.
The thing is, so I think the president of this union, I think he's friends with Trump, or at least friendly with him. I think he's a Trump guy. And Biden is going to say these very pro-labor things. And ultimately, the guy's not going to give the Democrats his support, I don't think. So it's like Biden kind of shooting himself in the foot, but I guess in a way standing up for what he's claimed to be all about his entire career, which is for the worker.
And see, that's why I hate this part about politics, right? Because they have to lobby to the American people, and they kind of have to grandstand with like in certain stances that they have. So like, for instance, JD Vance got hit with the question yesterday about, because like Trump needed something to run on, right? Because they had an immigration bill all ready to go, bipartisan. Everybody agreed on it. And then Trump got a hold of some of the senators and said, don't sign it. I need something to run on. And so it's like, if you really cared about the border, and if you really believed it was harming the American economy and then people, then you would urge people to get it done no matter whose administration it was under. But because he needed something to run on, he told and had the power in the Senate to say, no, veto that shit. And a bunch of senators corroborated that. And so it's like, I hate that. Like Joe Biden should do what's best for the American people and not what's best for, because an election is coming up. I hate that shit. It's just so greedy.
This is a guy that is not running for re-election, who doesn't give a fuck anymore, who doesn't give a fuck about
his party is.
His party definitely does, yes. Yeah, Democrats will get out there and they'll be union busters just like anybody else if this actually goes through. So like
Kamala's going on, like she went on All the Smoke podcast with a couple of the homies that I know, and she's talking about how she doesn't believe anybody that goes to weed and nobody should go to jail for marijuana. And I'm like, y'all ran on this shit 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And it's bothersome that here we go with these same old talking points. Like, do the shit. Like, you grandstand for people just to get their votes. I hate that shit, dog. Do the shit.
Did she really say that?
Yeah.
She loved putting people in jail for marijuana 15 years ago.
The facts are a little muddied on that, brother.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, it wasn't as much as you think. I think it was like 100 or something like that. It was a talking point that the right was using. But
if you do it once, that means you're not opposed to it.
No, she fought. I don't want to misspeak because I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it was nowhere near like it was nowhere near the numbers. We could fact check this, but it was nowhere near the numbers that they were putting up.
As the San Francisco district
Don't have me
attorney,
banging for Kamala, please.
she oversaw more than 1,900 marijuana convictions.
But you have to look into all of it. You know what? I'll put it aside and I'll come back with the facts of it, because I looked into it a while back, because I agreed. I used to feel the same way, but I looked into it and it wasn't the case. But
it's one of those things where some of them might have been like use of or possession of a firearm while selling weed, while selling narcotics.
It was a bunch of nuance involved that I don't remember exactly, so I can't speak on it right now.
One more thing about the strike. This is, again, I'm genuinely in favor of the working class people flexing their power whenever they can, because if you look at who feels the bad effects of any sort of like economic blip or any sort of like international conflict, it's always the people that make the less amount of money in this country. It's always the poorest people. Like if a CEO has to take a 50% pay decrease, they'll be fine. They'll figure out a way. They might not be able to do some of the nicer things, go on all the fancy vacations that they normally go on, but they'll be okay in the long run. They'll have a comfortable life. But when things go to shit, it's the people that are by and large like the blue collar workers, people who are like on the ground doing the work. They feel the effects of small changes way more than anybody else. So if they're going to be a little bit greedy, or if they're going to ask for a little bit more than you think that they should, I'm more willing to be like, okay, get what you can. Get what you can while you can. It's like the NFL.
Yeah, man. Get them.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's. I think this is going to be a big story.
Yeah, I do too. That's what my dad was like, yo, stock up on toilet paper, paper towels, canned goods, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.